Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is part 2 of What If Naruto was teleported in Konosuba. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. This video is 100 likes, so like this video, let me know that you're interested in the series and you want the next part. Link in the description, so let's go. Hey, did you hear? Apparently, that Naruto guy is leaving town. Seriously. Must be searching for a challenge. He didn't really seem like a beginner adventurer. Right. It's no wonder he doesn't talk to anyone other than Luna-san and the waitresses. Naruto frowned as he heard such things from his spot in the corner of the Adventurers Guild. People were always the same, judging someone before they even got to know them. But that didn't matter since he would be leaving the next morning anyway. Naruto drank the last of his favorite Neroid juice and stood up. He really needed to learn how to make that stuff. Well, I better go tell Wiz I'm leaving tomorrow. The clumsy shopkeeper was the only person Naruto could really consider a friend in this town, and he had been visiting the shop every day since meeting her. Luna had been kind to him, but even Naruto could tell she had mostly been using him to get rid of all the quests the other adventurers didn't want to do. Not that he blamed her. Some quests just needed to get done, and it seemed the adventurers in this town were pretty cozy. He had yet to see Kazuma or the archpriest that had saved him the other night, but Naruto decided that it was probably for the best. If he kept making friends in this town, then it would only make it harder for him to leave. Naruto was brought to this world to defeat the Demon King, and he wouldn't be able to do so from the town that was farthest away from the goal. Taking one last look at the guild hall he had grown accustomed to this past week, Naruto was hit by a wave of emotions. Despite him being alone the entire time, this place sure felt homey. What's the matter, guy? Luna-san shot you down again. Ha 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 ha. An adventurer taunted at an attempt to get a rise out of the shinobi, and he and his party members bellowed with laughter. Maybe this place wasn't so homey after all. Ignoring the jeering adventurers, Naruto looked around the guild with a lonely expression before he left some aris on the table and walked towards the exit. I'm off. Welcome, Naruto-san. Wiz chirped and cheerfully waved to the familiar blonde who had just entered her store. It was still early in the morning, and she was just opening the shop for the day. Hey, Wiz, whatcha got there? Naruto asked as he took a seat at the table in the middle of the room. It's nothing. I was just about to send a letter to a friend. Growing suspicious, Naruto stood and walked towards the girl who had instantly responded with such a blatant lie. Hey Tilda, who might this friend be? I thought Wiz said she didn't have any friends outside of town. Naruto-san, that's too mean. It's true that I said that, but hearing it from someone else is, why no? Don't read the letter. After reading the contents of the letter, Naruto looked down at Wiz, who was in Caesar and fidgeting nervously. Wiz, is the shop not doing well? I've been dealing with red digits this month. That last shipment didn't do as well as I thought it would for some reason. Wiz explained with teary eyes, and crossed his arms and frowned. No, that should be expected when selling such weird and expensive items in a town full of beginners. Naruto didn't have much experience in business, but even he could tell the adventurers of this town wouldn't be able to use most of these magic items, much less afford them. Who would buy an item that cost 50,000 aris when the average quest reward in town was 20,000 or so? That letter is for the bank to ask for more time. I took out a loan because I thought I would make a big enough profit with this merchandise that I would be able to pay it back, as well as this month's red digits, but there's no need to make that face. I made an order for an item that I know will sell. Wiz continued with a determined look in her eyes when she noticed the growing worry on the boy's face. What would that be? Naruto dared to ask, already knowing where this was leading. A set of potions that boosts one's stats for a short amount of time. But as a side effect, the drinker will become paralyzed from the neck down for a couple minutes. Stop, it's too pitiful. I'm sure the adventurers will make good use of these potions. Now then, I'll go make some tea. This girl is too honest. Naruto thought with a wry smile as Wiz left to go brew some tea. If this went on, that girl would surely lose the shop. Being one of the few people that had been kind to him in this city full of strangers, Naruto couldn't let that happen. This brought Naruto to one conclusion, and he stood up just as Wiz walked back into the room with the kettle. I guess I have no choice. Until you get back on your feet, I'll help out with the shop. Wiz placed the tea on the table and looked at Naruto in surprise. No, I can't ask Naruto-san to do something like that. You don't have to worry about me, I have a plan. Besides, I wouldn't be able to pay you. If you're worried about paying me, it's no big deal. I've got enough aris from solo hunting these past couple days to last me a month or two. Besides, Naruto said and scratched his cheek awkwardly. I can't just leave a friend of mine while they're in trouble. Naruto-san, Wiz said with teary eyes before she grabbed his leg and sobbed. Waha, Naruto-san is too kind. Whoa. That's dangerous, Wiz. I almost bumped into the shelf with the explosive potions. Naruto shouted as he pried the brunette from his leg. Leave it to one of the only ties he had in this town to keep him from leaving. Naruto had initially come to the store to tell Wiz that he was going, but ended up offering to help out in her store. Figures. Pushover. Shut up. Having decided to stay in town for a while longer, Naruto paid the innkeeper for another week's stay. He then walked to the Adventurers Guild to take on his daily quest. If he was going to be helping Wiz for free, then he'd better stock up on some aris. So he told Wiz he that would quickly finish a quest and then come back to the shop to help. You're too soft, Naruto. You shouldn't have meddled in that useless shopkeeper's business. Instead, you should have left this worthless town. We have a goal, remember. To show this world what a true demon is. Whose goal is that? Anyway, don't call Wiz useless. I don't know what came over me earlier, but I couldn't just leave her like that. Naruto thought as he entered the Adventurers Guild. He didn't quite understand it, but whenever he saw Wiz, there was just something about her honest personality that made him want to help her. Maybe it was because she was so determined to help the adventurers in town with magic items. Well, it's too late to back out now. I promised to help Wiz get out of the red zone, and Uzumaki Naruto keeps his promises. No. Luna blinked. Did Naruto just refuse to do a quest? In the short time that she'd known the man, she had come to learn that Naruto flat out refused to back down from a challenge. No matter how hard, tedious, or cumbersome the quest sounded. To say Luna was surprised to hear that word coming out of Naruto's mouth was an understatement. Seeing the clear look of confusion on Luna's face, Naruto crossed his arms and sighed. There's a reason for this, but I can't accept this kill quest. Is that so? Luna said with an awkward smile before shuffling through her notes. Then how about this one? It's a fetch quest that requires the gathering of 5 Venus hearts. A Venus heart is the fruit that a Venus flytrap produces after a long period of time. They are quite rare, but it makes for great fertilizer and therefore highly sought out by farmers. Naruto raised an eyebrow. A Venus flytrap. Did she mean those tiny houseplants one kept near a window and closed their mouths when you touched them? Iruka had one of those things in his apartment, and would always yell at him when he touched their mouths for some reason. Sounds easy enough. Now, where can I find them? You can find Venus flytraps in the forest southwest of the town. But they are a very rare encounter, and finding one with fruit is even more uncommon. Naruto hummed in thought. I see, so that's why the other adventurers don't want to take this quest. It sounds like it could take a while. He planned to help Wiz with the shop later that day, and it was still early in the morning. If he hurried by using shadow clones, he could probably finish the quest by noon. Well, you have a couple days to complete the quest. So take your time and be careful. Luna said nervously and looked as though she wanted to say more about the quest, but she wasn't given a chance when Naruto suddenly turned towards the exit and waved. I'll be back later, see ya Luna-chan. A bead of sweat rolled down Luna's face as the other adventurers sent heated glares at the shinobi. Was he doing that on purpose? But she was relieved that Naruto decided to stay, even if it was only for a little longer. Despite the boy not getting along with the other adventurers very well, his tenacity to complete quests every day was having quite a positive effect on them. Hence the reason why the only kill quest left this season was hunting toads since it was their mating season. Standing in the middle of the forest just outside of town, Naruto crossed his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. In a series of puffs, a couple dozen clones popped into existence. Facing his small army, Naruto pointed towards the deeper parts of the forest. Alright everyone, you know what to do. Let's find those fruits. The clone's mock saluted before dispersing into the forest. Grinning in satisfaction, Naruto began to walk through the greenery by himself. With the use of his shadow clones, this search quest was going to be a piece of cake. It wasn't long after the start of his search when Naruto suddenly felt a couple of his clones dispersing, their memories flowing into his mind. Weird, most of the monsters in this area should have been cleared out by adventurers. Did they already find the fruits? As he was processing the memories, a dark figure loomed over Naruto's form. He could hear the bushes rustling softly behind him. Daring to turn around, Naruto came face to face with the largest Venus flytrap he had ever seen. The giant of a plant opened its jaws, and Naruto got a glimpse of a glowing object in the back of its mouth before he was forced to jump away. Landing on a tree, Naruto angrily stamped his foot on the branch. What the hell is this? How is that a Venus flytrap? That's a goddamn man-eating plant. Deciding that complaining wouldn't do him any good, Naruto brandished his knife and channeled some wind chakra into it. Man-eating plant or not, he'd dealt with much worse before. The Venus flytrap opened its jaws and made a hissing noise that sounded like it was roaring. Bring it on, you stupid vegetable. Naruto roared back and pounced on the carnivorous plant. By the time Naruto managed to collect the 5 Venus hearts, it was past noon. A little later than he'd hoped, but not bad at all. Luna-chan has some explaining to do. Naruto thought with a twitching eyebrow as he looked at the tears in his jacket. After Aris had gone to the trouble of patching it up for him too. As much as he disliked the idea of wearing something else, he needed some new clothes. During the search, Naruto had somehow ended up closer to the western entrance to the town. This was the entrance Naruto tried to avoid the most because of the frequent giant toad sightings. Due to his pact with the toads of Mount Myoboku in his past life, Naruto refused to kill the giant toads. Gamakichi, and the chief toad Gamabunta. He missed the toads he had spent so much time with. In fact, he almost cried when he saw fried toad meat on the menu back at the Adventurers Guild. As Naruto trekked the open plain towards the town in the distance, he suddenly felt a familiar energy signature. Scanning area for its source, Naruto spotted a giant toad. Standing in front of the toad was, "Oh, it's that archpriest," Naruto said as a wave of excitement washed over him. But that feeling died in an instant as the blue-haired priest was now inside of the toad's mouth. Aqua! Kazuma screamed as he ran towards the giant toad that had just eaten his partner. Stupid useless goddess, lol, getting devoured right after boasting like that. But now that the toad wasn't moving, he'd be able to strike it in. It all happened in an instant. Kazuma had blinked when he reached the toad and was about to strike with his short sword, and when he had opened his eyes again, there was a man shrouded in golden energy and strange black markings standing in front of him. The golden man's arm flickered, and aqua, along with the contents of the giant toad's stomach, erupted into the air. By the time Kazuma stopped and widened his eyes, aqua had fallen into the man's arms, bridal style, and the toad was halfway across the field. Who bleg? Kazuma was about to ask who the person was when he was covered by the toad mucus that had erupted from the monster along with aqua. Feeling a warmth that was different from the toad's mouth, aqua fluttered her eyes open. "Hey, you okay?" Aqua's eyes went wide when she heard the stranger's voice and noticed that said person was holding her. The only reason she wasn't freaking out was because the person had such a calm expression. His golden features were bright like the sun, and his red-orange eyes had a warmth to them that made her feel safe. At that moment, Aqua felt as though she was being carried by a fellow god. "Why yes, thank you." Aqua stuttered and bashfully averted her gaze. Kazuma, who had been watching the whole time on the ground after wiping the slime off of his face, cocked his head to the side. Aqua, the girl that was as obnoxious as a rooster in the morning, stubborn as a mule, and dumb as they came, that Aqua looked like that. Who was that cute girl? Where could he find one? Can you put me down? Oh, yes, of course. When Aqua was on her feet, she kept her gaze low. Kazuma, deciding he'd seen enough of this strange Aqua, stood up and made his presence known by roughly wiping the toad mucus from his clothes. "Thank you for helping us, but who are you?" Kazuma asked, and as if noticing him for the first time, the glowing person blinked in surprise. "Kazuma. Yes, I'm Kazuma," Kazuma said out of reflex. Did he know this strange glowing man? What was with that glowingness anyway? It's me. Ah, you probably don't recognize me in this form, the man said, and the golden energy that surrounded his form faded out of existence. Oh, Naruto. Kazuma balked, his eyes lighting up in recognition as he instantly recognized the person. Naruto grinned from being recognized. It was then. This energy I'm sensing, a devil. Wah. Aqua suddenly started shouting and pounced on Naruto. Aqua, what are you doing to the person that just saved you? Kazuma shouted, but his words fell onto deaf ears. Kazuma, this person is a devil. Aqua continued shouting as she held the boy down. No, wait. Naruto tried to reason with the girl, but she kept speaking over him. I couldn't sense it a second ago for various reasons, but this man reeks of demonic energy. Let me explain. The Demon King must have known I was here and sent this man to seduce me. It almost worked, but luckily the great me saw right through your trap. How dare you play with the feelings of a sensitive maiden? Aqua, who was now straddling a very confused Naruto, made such outrageous claims. What? Almost sensitive. These were the questionable words that stood out to Kazuma as he watched the scene in front of him unfold. What happened to that cute girl from just a second ago? I'm not a devil, Naruto said meekly as he averted his gaze from the girl who was wearing a very short skirt. His arms were pinned to his sides by Aqua's thighs, so the only thing he could do now was look away. See, he looked away. That means he's lying. Aqua roared and began to shake Naruto by the collar. No, he's looking away for another obvious reason, Kazuma retorted while smiling bitterly. He needed to put an end to this, otherwise that idiot of a goddess lol would continue to misunderstand the situation and Naruto might be in trouble for another reason. What we saw was probably his hack's power. You know, the thing you said I could have brought to this world. To think, I made the mistake to choose you as my thing. Hack's power, Naruto thought with a raised eyebrow. Did Kazuma know about Kurama? First the initial fee for the guild, and now this. Just how much did Kazuma know? Listen here. Continue to disrespect a goddess by calling the great me a thing, and you will receive divine retribution. Hold on a second, Aqua. I really am human, I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth, I promise. Naruto frantically said when the girl turned her angry gaze towards him again. He knew full well what happened if you made a girl angry, and he did not want to make this girl on top of him any more upset than she already was. Oh yeah, well then, shall we put that to the test? If you truly are human like you say, then you won't be affected by my sacred purification. Aqua challenged and raised her hands into the air. Kazuma, who was about to smack Aqua upside the head, paused and thought. Normally, he would stop such a stupid test. But when Naruto isn't affected by the spell, then Aqua would give up on this nonsense on her own free will. No headache needed. Huh? Naruto made a questioning noise, not understanding what the girl was about to do. Aqua, still sitting on top of Naruto, recited a short prayer. The same magic circle Naruto saw that night at the graveyard appeared and an enormous amount of energy began to flow into it. Sacred purification. Kazuma shielded his eyes when the brilliance of the holy magic consumed them all. When the light dimmed down, Aqua confidently looked down and expected to see a pile of ashes. But what she didn't expect to see was Naruto, very much still intact, and staring up at her with a mixed look of confusion and embarrassment. As if she just realized the position she was in, Aqua scrambled off the blonde and pointed at him with a shaky finger. I don't know how you managed to avoid being purified, but mark my words Aqua held her head in pain when Kazuma suddenly smacked her. Alright, that's enough you stupid girl. Can't you see Naruto wasn't affected by your spell in the slightest? He's not a devil, so get that through your thick skull already. Naruto stood up and laughed awkwardly as he dusted himself off. With that over with, maybe he'd finally be able to talk with these two normally. Naruto. Give me control of your body so that I may teach that self-proclaimed goddess the true meaning of suffering. Kurama. Naruto thought when he heard the enraged fox's demand. Come to think of it, he did hear someone shouting when the spell was being casted. Was Kurama affected by Aqua's spell? Aha, I can sense a great deal of malice coming from this man. Stand aside, Kazuma. This time I'll owie. Aqua shouted obnoxious things even after all of that, so Kazuma smacked her on the head again before turning to Naruto. What was that glowing power? Did you get it from a god or goddess? Yeah, something like that. I have a nine-tailed fox demon named Kurama sealed inside of me, and I can draw from his power. But how did you know? Kazuma nodded, a knowing smirk on his face. Aqua probably forgot about their little bet, but he would make sure to remind her that he won. This may come to a surprise to you, but I am also from Japan. I, too, died a heroic, comical death. While Kazuma was giving Aqua a verbal lashing which ended up with them in a minor scuffle, Naruto tilted his head in confusion. What's Japan? Kazuma and Aqua, amid their little battle, stopped and looked at each. Nay, Kazuma, does this mean I win the bet? Hell no. After a quick visit to the town's public bathhouse to wash off the toad mucus, Kazuma and Aqua met up with Naruto at the Adventurers Guild. So let me get this straight. Just like me, you were sent to this world by a goddess to defeat the Demon King, but you're not from Japan. You do have blonde hair and blue eyes, are you from America or Europe? Kazuma asked as he tried to wrap his head around the situation. Nope, never heard of em. Naruto said with a wave of his hand as he sent occasional glances at Aqua, who was currently fiddling with a straw and paying zero attention to the conversation. Kazuma hummed and calmly rubbed his chin in thought. He wasn't the type to overreact to something like this, especially when entities such as gods and goddess were involved. After all, he himself was just reincarnated into another world from Japan. It wouldn't be too far-fetched for Naruto to be from yet another world. How very fantasy-like. Where are you from then? Kazuma decided to keep the ball rolling to see what kind of world Naruto came from then. The elemental nations. Naruto answered absent-mindedly while watching Aqua work on the straw, causing a tick mark formed on Kazuma's forehead. Aqua, pay attention and stop distracting Naruto. This has to do with you too. Don't wanna No, I'm not finished yet. Aqua wailed when Kazuma snatched the straw out of her hands, and she started bobbing at the boy's head comically. Naruto chuckled as he watched the two fight until Aqua somehow managed to retrieve her straw. So I take it you're from this Japan place, Kazuma. Kazuma rubbed his head as he sent the priest, who immediately went back to her craft, an annoyed expression before turning back to Naruto and nodding. Yeah, but to think there are even more worlds out there besides my old home and this world. It's really just like a video game. Kazuma exclaimed in excitement. He was really starting to feel that fantasy world vibe again. As expected of Kazuma, whose previous life was merely that of a NEET, comparing the real world to a video game is hey. No, I'm sorry. Stop it, Kazuma. It's gonna break. Kazuma-san. Aqua mocked when Kazuma lunged for the straw again, and she started pleading with teary eyes. Kazuma let go of Aqua's strange-looking straw before crossing his arms. He was getting sidetracked because of this dumb girl. If she didn't want to listen, then so be it. What kind of world did you come from? It was a basic question, but Kazuma was curious as to how Naruto's world differed from this fantasy one in Japan. I guess it's kinda like this world, but we didn't have a king, and we didn't use magic. We ninja live in hidden villages and use chakra. Naruto said, giving a brief description of his world and forming a hand sign as a visual. You're a ninja? Kazuma questioned incredulously as he appraised the alleged shinobi's attire. The guy was wearing a headband with a strange symbol, but with those orange clothes coupled with his bright blonde hair, then there was also that bright golden energy power he used earlier. Nope. Kazuma just couldn't see it. Noticing the doubt on Kazuma's face, Naruto began to fume. I'm really a ninja, ya know. I might look like this, but I could hide from some of the village's top ninja when I was 12. I even stole the forbidden scroll of sealing and learned a jutsu from it in one night. Naruto boasted while sticking a thumb on his headband proudly. Were you wearing orange back then too? Yes. Kazuma gained a sour look. He had grown excited when Naruto mentioned a hidden village of ninja, but that excitement immediately died down when he heard the top ninja of the village couldn't capture a blonde child wearing bright orange clothes. What kind of ninjas were they training in that hidden village? How could they let something that significant fall into the hands of a child? Were they stupid? Kazuma was beginning to doubt the man in front of him. Was this person really from a ninja village? As if hearing the thoughts of disbelief in Kazuma's head, Naruto's face turned red with anger. But before he had the chance to defend his old home, Aqua held something out to him from across the table. Sorry for the wait, but it's finished. Aqua chirped, and seemed to be very proud of her handiwork. Naruto blinked in confusion, but ultimately accepted the strange-looking object without much thought. It looked like the straw Aqua had been fiddling with earlier, but the thing in Naruto's hands looked so multifaceted that one could not simply call it a straw anymore. What is this? It's a straw, but no ordinary straw. That straw is an ancient artifact that grants the user entertainment while drinking from it. Aqua explained while nodding her head confidently. Ancient relic. Didn't you say you just finished making it? Kazuma retorted out of reflex, but kept it to himself since he was curious to see what Aqua had made. She was utterly useless most of the time, but this girl had a strange knack for arts and crafts. What does it do? Naruto asked as he continued to look at the supposed straw in his hand. Upon further inspection, it had the shape of a person, which baffled Naruto. The straw had only been a couple inches long, so how did she manage to make this thing? Foo, order us some more drinks and find out. Aqua answered with a gleeful expression, then downed the rest of the drink Naruto had ordered for her earlier. Naruto called for the waitress and had her bring them more drinks. Upon their arrival, he then stuck the straw into his naruto juice and drank from it. How is that even possible? Aqua, this is actually amazing. Kazuma shouted at Aqua, shocked that the girl was able to make such a thing. Naruto's eyes were wide as well. He swallowed his beverage and looked at Aqua in awe. How did you make something like this? It's amazing, right? You can praise me more. Aqua soaked in the compliments with a smug look of self-satisfaction. When Naruto drank from the straw, the naruto juice gave it a yellow appearance, and they were able to see what the shape was more clearly. The straw seemed to be shaped like Naruto, and it very closely resembled his chakra form due to the yellow-orange nature of the beverage. But something like this shouldn't have been impossible with a regular straw. Shaking his amazement away, Naruto put his drink down. Thanks for this, but why? To thank you for saving me. Of course, that artifact is probably worth at least 100 drinks. So I wouldn't mind if you treated me to a couple more. Aqua mumbled before adding the last bit haughtily. Alright, Naruto said and looked at Kazuma, who merely shrugged. Aqua was a lot different than Naruto had imagined her to be. When he first saw the girl at the cemetery, and how elegantly she'd purified the zombie maker, he thought she was going to be a kind girl with a gentle personality. A classic personality for a priest. Boy was he wrong. Oh well, this Aqua isn't so bad. She may have a weird personality, but I can't really hate her for that. Plus, she seems to get along just fine with Kazuma. Naruto thought, a small smile growing on his lips. Kazuma watched Naruto's facial expression change from troubled to a look of acceptance, but then it went back to troubled again when Aqua told the waitress to put the bill for the drinks she had just ordered onto Naruto's tab. Did he just accept Aqua's personality? No. That was no good. As someone who had spent more than a week with the girl, Kazuma wouldn't let his kahai fall into that trap. Aqua's the kind of person that takes advantage of other people's kindness. Naruto seems like the kind of guy who would easily fall for such traps. So, as any kind and thoughtful senpai would do, I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Kazuma thought while staring at the self-proclaimed goddess who was getting drunk off of booze in the afternoon with contempt. She was even being treated by the person that saved her. Nay, Kazuma, hick. Why are you looking at me like I'm some hopeless problem child? I haven't done anything wrong, hick. Yet. Kazuma bowed his head slightly to Naruto apologetically, and the blonde merely tilted his head in confusion. After Aqua got sick from drinking too much and ran outside, Kazuma said he and the thing he brought to this world would be doing more hunting quests for the guild and that they would probably see each other more often before chasing after his party member. The reason they hadn't seen each other at the guild at all was because of the nature of the construction work that Kazuma and Aqua had been doing. The two would wake up at dawn, and finish by sundown. Naruto stood up and was about to go turn in his quest from earlier when he was stopped by a waitress. She was looking at him with a smile that almost seemed apologetic. As he wondered why the girl was looking at him that way, he remembered the bill. Ah, right. The cost of the alcohol that Aqua had ordered was the same as an entire reward from one of his solo hunting rewards. Naruto grumbled and reluctantly pulled some aris out of his new wallet that was coincidentally made to look like a giant toad from this world. With Gama-chan now retired as an heirloom, Keiru-chan was born. That was the last time he was treating that girl to alcohol. You see, brat, gods and goddesses are nothing but trouble. You should just forget about that woman and go to the next town already. And leave Wiz behind with all that debt. Not gonna happen. Naruto responded in his mind and walked towards the receptionist desk. Hello, Naruto-san. Thank you for your hard work today, Luna cheerfully said when Naruto stopped in front of her desk. Of course, you can leave any of the unwanted quests to me, Luna-chan. Naruto claimed in a voice loud enough for the rest of the guild hall to hear, and he could already feel the heated glares from the other adventurers on his back. He felt like letting out some steam and decided to annoy the adventurers while teasing Luna. My goodness, you look like you had a rough time all by yourself, Naruto-san. Luna's smile became a bit strained when she noticed the tears in Naruto's jacket. Man, I underestimated those Venus flytraps. One nearly chomped my arm off. Ha ha ha, Naruto said and rubbed the back of his head with a hearty laugh. I remember suggesting that you should form a party. Luna mumbled while averting her gaze slightly, and Naruto felt like he had her on the ropes. Yeah, but now that I know more about those dumb plants, they won't get the drop on me. Quote. One final pull. Too bad my favorite jacket is ruined, but I guess it's better than losing my arm or. I'm sorry I didn't properly warn you. Luna suddenly shouted, stopping Naruto stopped mid-sentence. Wait, what? He was only teasing her a little. Why were her eyes tearing up? Luna bowed her head and continued. I had a feeling you didn't know about the abnormally large Venus flytraps in this area, but you just left, and I thought you would be okay since your stats are so high. What a foolish thing. Wait, it's not a big deal. Naruto said in an attempt to stop the receptionist who was starting to break character, but Luna just kept shouting with teary eyes. But then I began to worry that Naruto-san wouldn't come back, and it would be all my fault. But all I can do as a receptionist is wait here and pray for your safety. Quote. Naruto fell silent as the stares around him began to turn into scornful ones. Now Naruto-san probably hates this irresponsible receptionist who makes such dangerous assumptions. I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize anymore. Naruto sighed as he walked down the street towards Wiz's magic shop. Luna had completely turned the situation around in her favor, and Naruto couldn't do a thing about it. The power of a woman's tears were frightening. Walking up the steps to the shop and opening the door, Naruto spotted Wiz organizing some of the merchandise on the back shelves. Wiz didn't seem to notice him, and Naruto didn't want to surprise her while she was handling such dangerous potions, so he leaned against the door frame to wait until she was finished. Wiz began to hum peacefully, which caused Naruto to smile. The scene in front of him just seemed to fit. This clumsy shopkeeper may have atrocious business tactics, but she enjoyed what she was doing, and Naruto didn't want to see that happiness torn away from her because of some red digits. Seemingly satisfied with her work, Wiz turned towards the front of the little shop and jumped in surprise when she finally noticed the blonde. Naruto-san. Sorry, I was afraid you would drop a potion if I startled you. You should really get a bell for the door. Naruto apologized and pulled the table from the corner of the store to the middle of the room. Wiz pouted with puffy cheeks. If her heart was still beating, it'd probably be throbbing right now. Honestly, you shouldn't tease a girl like that. We may look cute and helpless, but take it too far, and you'll be sorry. I believe you. Now then, what can I do to help? Naruto laughed and took a seat at the table. Wiz smiled, remembering the things Naruto said before and tapped her chin in thought. Could I ask you to sweep the front of the store? While you're doing that, I can tell you about some ideas that I've come up with. Naruto nodded and looked for the broom, spotting it behind the counter. Grabbing it, he started sweeping the front of the store. While he was cleaning, a nostalgic smile stretched across his features. This kinda brings back memories, ya know. I used to sweep for my favorite food shop when I didn't have any money. Really? What kind of food was it? Wiz asked curiously as she grabbed a notebook she'd been jotting her ideas in. Ramen, of course, Naruto revealed with a toothy grin, and that got him thinking. He hadn't had ramen at all since I came to this world. Maybe tonight I'll ask the waitresses if they. What's ramen? Wiz asked with her head tilted, and Naruto face faulted. Supporting himself on the broom, Naruto looked at Wiz with a crooked smile. Noodles, miso soup, you know. Ramen. The food of the gods. Wiz tilted her head the other way and hummed. Nope. Even back in my adventuring days, when I traveled all over the country, I never once heard of such a food. Naruto's blood ran cold. He had been so caught up in learning about this new world that he hadn't even thought of the possibility that this world might not even have ramen. Wiz, oblivious to Naruto's twitching form, began to flip through her notebook. So, the first idea I came up with was ordering a specially made set of magic items. I know an arch-wizard from the Crimson Demon Village who. No. We can't beat the toads by ourselves. Let's recruit more party members. Kazuma told Aqua with a serious expression. After a second attempt at fighting the giant toads for their kill quest, the two went back to the guild to come up with a better strategy. They had 3 days to kill 5 toads, and they only killed 1 toad because Naruto had knocked it out. Kazuma had gone back and finished the job while Naruto was waiting for them at the Adventurers Guild. Gaining a third-party member was the obvious choice to overcome this obstacle. Leave it to me. If I make the request, people will be lining up to join us because I'm an archpriest. We're in high demand, you know. Aqua claimed and rushed off to gather the materials needed to make a request form. Should I really leave it to that girl? Meh, it's only a party invitation. Even Aqua should be able to at least do a simple task like that. Kazuma thought with a short nod. It was better for Aqua, who held a higher class than him, to make the invitation anyway. Because who would want to join a party with someone who held the weakest job? While Kazuma was reassuring himself, the guild doors opened, and he saw a gloomy teenage boy with his head drooped slowly walk inside. Naruto. What's wrong with him? Kazuma thought when Aqua suddenly slammed her hands onto their table, shocking the teen. Kazuma. I've really outdone myself this time. Just wait, people will be lining up outside the door to join my party. When did this become your party? By the way, you seem awfully excited about this. What happened to the whiny girl that wanted nothing more than to go home? But whatever. Why don't we just ask Naruto to join us? Kazuma retorted before making the obvious suggestion. Inviting Naruto into the party should have been a no-brainer. Kazuma couldn't exactly say they were friends because they'd only had 2 conversations, but the guy did save Aqua. Since Naruto had a gift from the gods, it was safe to assume he was strong. Plus, there were rumors going around that Naruto was a solo hunter. So that meant he wasn't already in a party. But I already went to the trouble of making that invitation form, we should wait to see who answers to my call. Aqua said with a shrug and drank from her cup, which prompted Kazuma to raise an eyebrow. That's a surprise, I thought you would be all for asking Naruto to join us. You like him, don't you? Quote! Aqua spewed the contents of her drink into Kazuma's face. Ew. Who likes who? How could a goddess such as myself fall for a mortal? If anything, I'm sure Naruto has fallen head over heels over my beauty. Aqua stated confidently and gestured to herself while Kazuma grumpily wiped his face with a napkin. Don't give me that crap. When Naruto saved you from being eaten by that toad yesterday, you completely broke character saying, thank you for saving me, all shy and cutesy like a heroine in a Girl Meets Boy manga. Kazuma fired back with an exaggerated imitation of Aqua's voice, causing the girl's face to burn bright red. Girl meets boy. Aqua screeched in disbelief. While the two continued to argue, Naruto dragged his feet to the reception desks. He was too engrossed in his thoughts to hear what they were saying. Ramen, no more ramen, ramen. Naruto continuously thought until he stopped at the desk and leaned onto the counter, tapping the bell to call Luna over. Upon seeing the shinobi when she walked over to the receptionist counter, Luna's eyes flashed with concern. Which was only natural given the state Naruto was in. The boy looked like he hadn't slept in days, which didn't make any sense since she saw him just yesterday. His typically cheerful eyes looked dead on the inside as if he had seen the depths of hell. I was wondering why you didn't show up at the usual time this morning, what happened? You look awful, Luna asked, her concern written all over her normally professional features. Naruto strained a smile. Do you know what ramen is? Ramen. No, I'm sorry. That's okay, it's a food from my country. But no one knows what it is, much less how to make it. I spent half of my savings on ingredients to try and make it myself last night and this morning, but all my attempts were so bad that I threw up 5 times doing taste tests. One was so bad I even passed out. I see. Luna responded and smiled bitterly. This was a little concerning. No, it was more than a little concerning. Naruto was always bright and full of energy, even after completing hard and tedious durian quests. Just what was this ramen stuff to him that it put him in such a state? While the receptionist tried to think of a solution, Naruto sighed. Wiz closed the shop for the day because she was going to visit some magic item maker she had mentioned, so Naruto had used that time to search for any leads on ramen. This was the last place in town he could think of that might have his favorite food or at least someone who knew of it. Not being able to stand seeing the normally energetic Naruto like this anymore, Luna put on a reassuring smile. I'm sorry I can't be of much help in that regard, but might I suggest learning the cooking skill from a local chef? You can improve your cooking skills the more you level it up. The receptionist suggested, and the boy's face suddenly lit up again. That's it. Of course I have no other choice than to just make it myself. I'll learn the cooking skill later, but first I need to regain the funds I lost. Hook me up with another quest, Luna-chan. Oh okay. There have been sightings of a rookie killer a couple miles north of town, but it's in the mountains, and the terrain is volatile. Surprised by the sudden change of emotion, Luna blurted out a random quest off the top of her head. I'll take it. In the mountains to the north, right. I'll hurry up and be back by tonight. Luna's eyes widened when Naruto made such a ridiculous claim. Tonight. It almost takes an entire day to get there by foot. And hunting a rookie killer is no joking matter. Even with your high stats, it's still dangerous. I highly suggest forming a party for this quest, Naruto-san. No way. If I form a party then I'll have to split the reward, right? I need all the money I can get for ingredients to make my ramen. Understand. Good. See ya later Luna-chan, and thanks for the advice. Naruto explained before he turned around and left, leaving the very confused receptionist behind. Snapping out of her stupor, Luna ran after the teen. She knew Naruto wasn't going to back down, so she would help him out the only way she could, by giving him information. Wait. At least take this. It's a book containing information on the monsters around this part of the kingdom. Stopping at the guild's entrance, Naruto turned back and accepted the offered book. Flipping through the pages, he stopped when he saw a familiar man-eating plant. There was an entire page of information regarding the Venus fly traps, and Naruto assumed the book also contained information on the rookie killer. Naruto sent Luna a flat look. This would have been useful yesterday. New members usually form parties with experienced adventurers and learn about the monsters from them. But since you've been solo hunting this entire time, Luna trailed off and made an apologetic hand gesture. Naruto sighed and waved the apology off. It's okay, I already have experience with giant monsters anyway. Those Venus fly traps were nothing compared to some of the beasts I've seen. As Naruto left while laughing heartily, Luna found herself wondering just what kind of country the boy was from. With that blonde hair and blue eyes, she had guessed he was of nobility at first. But the boy's mannerisms were a little. Just as Naruto was about to open the guild doors and leave, he heard a familiar voice call out to him. Hey, Naruto. Hang on a second. Turning around, Naruto found Kazuma and Aqua walking up to him. Kazuma was waving at him while Aqua was looking away for some reason. Perhaps they got into an argument. Hey guys, what are you doing here? I thought you would already be continuing your quest by now. We were, but the quest we took is a little rough for just the two of us, so we're recruiting more members. Would you like to join our party? Kazuma asked while averting his gaze awkwardly. It killed him to have to ask his Kahai for assistance, but he was left with few options. Still, he'd rather swallow his pride than be consumed by giant toads. Naruto's eyes widened slightly before they went back to normal. Forming a party with these two sounded like fun, but Naruto had already taken a quest from Luna, and he really needed funds for his ramen. Sorry, but I already took a quest for today and was just about to head out. Maybe next time though. I see, guess there's no helping it. Kazuma said and rubbed the back of his head. He was just rejected by his Kahai. No, it was only natural for someone powerful to reject a party invitation from amateurs like them. They would probably just hold Naruto back in his quests. Kahai. Kazuma felt stupid for thinking that he was this man's superior for even a second. Naruto may be new to this world just like him, but if what the blonde had said about coming from a ninja village was true, then he was no amateur. It was then Aqua stepped forward and looked Naruto straight in the eye, flustering the boy and causing him to unconsciously take a step back. I guess I have no choice. Naruto, will you join my party to defeat the giant toads? Number. Why would Aqua asking this time change my answer? Quote exclamation mark quote. Naruto's words fell on Aqua like a cement block, and she dropped to her hands and knees from the weight of his rejection. And no, I guess it wouldn't. She got rejected too, poor fellow. Kazuma thought and stifled his laughter when Aqua started mumbling to herself. Oh well, this outcome was to be expected. It's not like they were friends with Naruto anyway, and they still had their party invitation on the board. Aqua sprung back up with teary eyes. Why? I was the one who asked this time, so you should have instantly changed your mind and accepted. Apologize. Apologize for declining a request from a goddess. What? But I already said I accepted another quest, returning it would be rude. Naruto responded while putting his hands up in defense. He felt bad about rejecting their offer, but what was this girl going on about? Actually, was this girl really a goddess? She had the same holy aura as Eris, but she sure wasn't acting like her. Well, I'm sorry I can't join you guys this time. But I gotta leave now if I wanna complete my quest by tonight. See ya. He ran away. Wait. Aqua demanded in a failed attempt to stop the fleeing blonde, but he was long gone. My charms as a goddess had no effect. Aqua mumbled and visibly deflated. There. Kazuma patted the girl on the shoulder, only to jolt when she suddenly sprang back up. No. It's impossible for my divine charms to fail. He's probably just shy. Yeah, that's it. Poor man, he couldn't muster the courage to be in the same party as the beautiful and kind archpriest Aqua-sama. Aqua boasted while shaking her head. But wasn't it the other way around? Just how self-absorbed could this woman be? These were the thoughts in Kazuma's mind as he continued to listen to Aqua's little rant. He hoped the person that responded to their party invite wasn't as troublesome as this girl. A few hours later. Well, that might have been overkill. Naruto said as he leapt through the trees in the direction of the town. With a bit of hustling, he managed to get to the mountainous region in just a couple hours. A day's trip by foot in a few short hours was nothing for the son of the Yellow Flash. Finding the target had been simple enough too. The book stated rookie killers herded mobs of goblins or other weak monsters to lure in newbie adventurers, then attack the unsuspecting prey. Hence the name, Rookie Killer. After finding a group of goblins in the mountains, Naruto killed a few to draw out the rookie killer. When the beast finally showed up and attacked him, Naruto sent it hurtling off the cliffside with a single Rasengan. Even the massive feline was no match for gravity. It was nice that he didn't even need anything extra to prove that he killed the beast. He simply needed to show the guild members the recent kills on his adventurer's card and they'd hand over the reward money. He didn't know how it worked, but magic was convenient. Jumping from branch to branch, Naruto was nearing the town when he suddenly heard a shout. Coming to a stop, Naruto scanned the area for the owner of the voice. He eventually found a woman with long blonde hair clad in heavy silver armor facing off against a silver wolf. She wielded a broad two-handed sword tightly in her hands as she kept her distance from the growling beast. This woman was obviously an adventurer. Naruto debated whether or not to jump in and help. Since this woman was an adventurer, she was likely out here training. He didn't want to steal away her experience points by killing the wolf. Deciding to wait and see how things played out, Naruto leaned against the tree and watched. If the woman needed help, then he would jump in. The silver wolf decided to attack and rushed in to bite, prompting the knight slide her foot back in preparation to slash. Swoosh! Naruto raised his eyebrows when he heard the sound of the two-handed sword cut through the air. To be able to swing a sword of that size with that much speed was impressive. The wolf managed to avoid the blade and pounced for another attack. Swoosh! Swoosh! Ching! ... Arg! My sword got stuck. Don't come near me with those beastly eyes. Naruto's sweat dropped as he watched the scene before him unfold. The woman had missed another couple swings before lodging her sword into a nearby tree. Naruto was no expert in kenjutsu, but even he could tell this woman had no swordsmanship. He must have been distracted by the speed she was swinging the sword to not notice at first. The wolf began to close in on the girl who had yet to pull her sword from the tree, so Naruto decided to move out. No. Stay back, you foul beast. Damn it. If only my sword hadn't gotten stuck, then I could have avoided being ravaged by this beast. What? Naruto thought as he landed on top of the silver wolf's head, killing it instantly. He then looked up at the girl who had just braced herself to be attacked and found that she was smiling. The female knight opened her eyes when the attack never came and found the shinobi staring at her. The atmosphere suddenly growing awkward, Naruto scratched his cheek. Were you smiling just now? No, I wasn't. The woman denied. Naruto sent his fellow blonde a flat look and pressed on. Yes, you were. I saw you smiling when I jumped in. I was in quite a pinch there, so thank you for helping me. Who knows what might have happened if you hadn't been around. The knight said and grabbed onto her sword with both hands. She changed the subject. Naruto thought with a bead of sweat trailing down his cheek as the woman finally pried the weapon from the tree with seemingly minimal effort. Was that sword actually stuck? I was on my way back from a quest when I heard you shouting. Were you out here training? Sorry if I took your kill. Yes, I was training with a friend. We were supposed to be heading back to the Adventurers Guild when we got separated, and I was attacked by that silver wolf. My name is Darkness. What is your name? My name is Naruto. Are you a beginner adventurer too? Naruto asked the now named Darkness while eyeing the woman's sword. Darkness seemed to have noticed his stares and blushed. Yes. Although I am ashamed to say, my swordplay is close to non-existent, but my defense is second to none. I hold the holy vanguard job of crusader. The knight sheepishly explained before boasting proudly about her defenses. Ah, so I was spot on. Naruto thought as Darkness rambled on about her resistances. She seemed like a nice girl, but there was something off about that smile Naruto saw earlier. Who smiled when they were about to be attacked by a wolf? Did she have a secret plan that he hadn't noticed? Deciding it would be better not to delve on it, Naruto angled himself towards the town. Well, it was nice meeting you, Darkness. But I gotta get back to the guild and turn in my quest. Ah, yes, of course. Sorry for keeping you for so long. Perhaps we'll see each other at the guild. Darkness stuttered and tapped her fingers together nervously. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. Why was she nervous? Was this girl not used to talking to other people? This must be what people called an uncivilized person. Putting on a cheeky grin, Naruto gave the girl a thumbs up. Sure, if you see me, just give me a shout. See ya, Darkness. Naruto said and took off towards the town to surprise a certain receptionist with his record timing once again. Darkness watched the friendly shinobi until he was out of sight. Naruto, what a nice person. ... How disappointing. He didn't even ask for anything in return for saving me. The least he could have done was ask for money, to which I would say, but I don't have any money. Is there was any other way I could pay you back? To which he would look at my body with lecherous eyes and say, how about you pay me back with that slutty body of yours? But that man didn't so much as look at my breasts. Darkness yelled with a dangerous smile plastered all over her face, panting a few times between sentences. It was then she heard someone cough. Whirling around, she blushed furiously when she saw her silver-haired friend staring at her. See, Chris, how much did you hear? All of it. I always knew Darkness was an uncivilized person, but someone you just met. In the middle of the forest. Goo, you're mistaken, indeed don't say it like that. Darkness pleaded with teary eyes, and Chris stuck her tongue out playfully. Just kidding. So, who is that guy? His name was Naruto, he's an adventurer, like us. Naruto, Chris said with a knowing smile. Noticing the look on her friend's face, Darkness raised an eyebrow. Do you know him? Chris scratched the scar on her left cheek. No, but I've heard a couple rumors floating around town that he's a bit of a player. They say he's always flirting with the head receptionist at the guild, and that he's already seduced the owner of a certain magic item shop. I see, but those rumors are surely false. Although I only just met him, that man doesn't seem like the type that shamelessly plays with a woman's heart. Perhaps Darkness has already fallen prey to Naruto the player. Chris cooed and looked at Darkness with a playful smirk, making the female knight blush again. Oh, of course not. How could I fall for someone who only looks me in the eyes? Isn't that a good thing though? Chris thought while smiling bitterly as Darkness pouted to herself. Anyways, we should start heading B. Boom. A sudden tremor violently shook the ground, threatening to knock the two off their feet. What was that? There was an explosion over there. Chris noted and pointed towards the town. A large cloud of smoke could be seen just outside of the town's walls. Hey, wasn't that the direction Naruto went? Darkness asked when she realized the explosion was in the same direction the boy had run off to. The two girls looked at each other and gulped. Was he okay? Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of the video, like and subscribe and comment down below and turn on the bell notification. See you in the next video. Peace.